Hey everyone, it's Skipper Mark, and we are in upstate New York and Canada at the Thousand Islands. The Thousand Islands is an area on the St. Lawrence River that actually has closer to 2,000 islands. The river is not your typical river, or at least what I think of a typical river that's maybe a half a mile to a mile wide. This river can be 15 miles wide, some people say, in parts. And it's just huge. It goes for hundreds of miles from Kingston, Ontario, all the way out to Nova Scotia. The ride to the area was pretty nice, but as we got closer to the river, it turned into huge farmlands with wide open spaces. It was so pretty and different from what we're used to seeing. The first thing we did when we arrived was check into the motel and then launch the WaveRunners. We stayed at the Otter Creek Motel in Alexandria Bay, but both the town ramp, which is right next to the hotel, and the motel's docks were plagued by algae and tall weeds that grew right to the surface of the water. This was bad for jet-equipped vessels because they could easily suck in the junk. The town docks, which are a little further down the creek, also had the same weed problem. The boats that participated in the annual poker run got covered by them. We got lucky and got the two spots that had the least amount of weeds, but I did suck up some, and Matt seemed to do it every time he went out, and he always had to keep cleaning his impeller.
I'm doing it too. Huh. Just trying to get it out.
There was a machine that came by one time to suck up the weeds, but it worked in an area outside the channel where no one hardly goes, and they ignored the problem areas around the ramp and the docks. The town makes most of their money from tourism, so they've gone to great lengths to make it easy for people with boats who come here. There's a huge wildlife preserve about 3 miles from the launch, and it had a huge parking area where they allow boats and trailers to park. We had no issues with our trailer, but we did lock it up. Most people come to the area to boat, and we did a lot of that. Not as much as last year, but we still had a great time. One of our favorite spots that we visited last year was an area that we called the Flatlands, which is east of Alexandria Bay, near Chippewa Bay. That's where we decided to head first when we went out.
Let's say it, Nancy. To the Flatlands!
We called it that because the water was mirror smooth whenever we went there. I'd never seen anything like it.
Holy hell, look at the fish, look at the fish.
It wasn't as smooth this year, but we still had a blast. The Flatlands is home to Cedar Island State Park, which is one of several New York state parks on the river. We explored all of the parks last year, but this year we didn't get out at any of them. We did, however, visit the town of Hammond and the historic Chippewa Bay General Store, which was like stepping back in time. They had soft drinks, food, gas for cars and boats, plus a bunch of other stuff. This is a definite must-visit spot if you're in the area. As we were leaving the store, the sky started getting really dark, and we heard thunder off in the distance. We didn't know whether we should keep going or try to find shelter somewhere. But where? Do we just pull up to someone's private island and get out?
Hey Ma, we're home!
Alexandria Bay was 12 miles to the west, which wasn't close, but the water was very calm and it wasn't raining, so we decided to keep going. My biggest concern, other than getting struck by lightning, was that the storm could bring high winds and big waves. There are hundreds of shipwrecks in the Thousand Islands, and I didn't want to become one of them. Thankfully, it only drizzled a little bit, and we made it back to the docks without any problem. In the evening, Matt and I would head up to the Flatlands because the water tended to be calmer, and Nancy would stay back at the hotel so we could go fast. She doesn't really like to do that, so it was nice for us, and it was nice for her. Sometimes the boats would make the water rough and I'd get soaked like happened in this video. The video doesn't do the wave justice, but it was about 4 feet tall.
Oh my goodness, holy cow! Oh, wow!
And I was afraid to go over it at a fast speed, so I slowed down and unfortunately it still got me. When we wanted to go fast without going far, we would zoom around some of the islands in the Alexandria Bay area. This particular area was one that we really liked. Overall, we had a great time while visiting the area, but I need to vent for a second because we almost got run over and could have lost our camera equipment. We were heading back to the docks one afternoon and noticed the pole steam heading east and wanted to get some photos of it. We always give ships like this a lot of room, so we pulled to the side of the channel and took our photos. The ship passed without incident and we were idling in place and just drifting with the current while I put my camera gear away. I didn't pay it much attention because there was plenty of room, but a center console was approaching from the east, and then suddenly it turned and headed straight towards us.
I don't know why they're coming right at me.
My camera gear was on my lap, so I couldn't give it much gas or stand up to wave my arms because everything would have fallen into the water, but I did manage to press the throttle a little bit and get out of the way. They never changed direction and continued on as if nothing had happened. So anyway, I just wanted to remind everyone to be careful out there. Keep your eyes peeled and watch out for others. Some other areas we went to were the town of Gananoque, Half Moon Bay, and the western side of the Thousand Islands National Park, all of which are in Canada. Gananoque is a town with a population of around 5,400, and it's located in the Leeds area of Ontario. Half Moon Bay is an area that has non-denominational services on Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. during the summer. People anchor their boats in the cove and sing and worship together. This tradition began back in 1887. Even though I'm a citizen of the US and love our country, I'm going to be straight up and say that the boating on the Canadian side is way better. The Thousand Islands National Park offers camping, public space, and some of the prettiest areas we saw on the river. Our favorite area was the islands around the International Bridge on the Canadian side. The water was some of the clearest we'd ever seen, and the contrast between the blue sky, green water, and the rocky, tree-lined islands was spectacular.
current's so strong, my boat's barely moving. Yeah, I know. But the thing is, it's probably deeper than it looks.
Of course, if you can't decide which side to visit, you can always visit both at the same time. There's actually a lake in the middle of one of the largest islands called Lake of the Isles, and there's a channel off of it that's a super scenic ride. The channel is narrow and the international border goes right down the middle, so you can ride with one foot in the US and the other foot in Canada. Both the US and Canada have immigration rules when you cross the border, so it's very important to understand what you are and what you aren't able to do before heading out. A couple miles into the channel is a bridge, and on each side of the bridge are the custom checkpoints for the US and Canada for those who are arriving by car. This is the Canadian side, and this is the US side. With all the boating that we did, we had to buy a lot of gas, and we like to get it at JP's Marine and Horizon Marine. Both are sheltered from the main channel, and you don't get rocked around by waves when filling up. If you're thinking of coming here on vacation and don't have a boat, that's okay. There are several tour boat companies in the US and Canada, and they go all over the place. Or, if that's not your thing, many of the marinas rent boats so you can explore on your own. When we weren't boating, we enjoyed exploring the town and sightseeing. Alexandria Bay is a very popular town along the river because it has great marinas, awesome restaurants, and lots of hotels and docks for people like us who are visiting by car, as well as those who are transiting the Great Loop. The most popular tourist attraction in the area is Boldt Castle, which was built by George Boldt, owner of the Waldorf Astoria in New York, as a gift for his wife. The couple loved spending summers in the Thousand Islands, and in 1900 construction started for the castle. But in 1904 Louise suddenly passed away and construction immediately stopped. The castle is a U.S. Customs entry point, and Canadians who visit must have their passports checked because visiting the island is considered entering the United States. The nearby wooden yacht house for the castle is the last remaining yacht house of its kind anywhere in the world. Not everyone can afford to live in a castle on their own island, so there are houses of all sizes in the area, including ones like this, which have just enough room for the house and a couple trees. We loved visiting the town docks to see all the boats. The town docks are open 24/7, but an attendant is on duty between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. When an attendant is on duty, they go to the boat that's coming in, help them dock, and then collect the fee for however long they'll be staying. Most of the boaters are local to the area, but we saw boats from all over the US and Canada. This boat has a Maine registration, and this beautiful Palm Beach yacht is from Punta Gorda, Florida. And these two boats are from Missouri. The Little Red Fox is from Washington, and we thought it had the long distance record. That was until we saw Shamrock, which came all the way from Alaska. They definitely won the award for the longest distance traveled. The docks have bathroom facilities, and it's also a U.S. Customs Rome check-in facility. They're so popular that grocery stores and other places deliver to boats at them. Another popular area to visit is the Tibbets Point Lighthouse in Cape Vincent. It marks a transition from Lake Ontario into the St. Lawrence River. There's not really much to say about the lighthouse, but it's historical and has a lot of markers that tell of its history. We fully enjoyed walking around and seeing the different buildings, but none were open for us to go into. The annual Thousand Island Poker Run started on Thursday evening in the town of Clayton with a huge block party. We drove up in the afternoon, had some dinner at the Hop Spot restaurant, and then toured the town. I made a separate video about the block party, which I'll link to above. On Friday evening, Clayton has a dock party at the town docks, and spectators and participants can hang out and check out some of the boats. I also made a separate video about that, which I'll link to above. We were leaving on Saturday and we decided to take our WaveRunners out on Friday so we could go to the poker run and just head home after that without having to come back and take them out. I was okay leaving the trailer in the public parking area during the week, but I was nervous about leaving the WaveRunners, so we decided to use the services at Carnegie Bay Marina. They have gated access so everything would be locked up, plus the ramp is beautiful and doesn't have any algae or weeds to deal with. They even have a hose at the ramp so we were able to clean the trailer and WaveRunners. They charge $10 to launch or retrieve a vessel and then $10 per day to park. We did everything on their website and it was super smooth. It's important to include a cell phone number when filling out the form because they send a text with a dedicated code for the entrance gate. It's a really awesome system and I highly recommend it. After attending the dock party, we went to Scenic View Park in Alexandria Bay, which was one of our favorite things to do in the evening. It's a great place to watch large ships go by. It's also a great spot to watch the sunset, and we were blessed to have an amazing sunset to enjoy for our last evening in the area. We stayed as long as possible so we could soak in the beauty, but eventually we had to get going. The next day we drove to Clayton to watch over 100 boats participate in the poker run. I made a separate video about that, which I've linked to above. Unfortunately, once the boats moved on to their next stop, we had to get going. We hopped into the Jeep and headed back to Alexandria Bay for a quick stop to see the boats at the docks there, and then we grabbed our WaveRunners and headed home. If you have any questions about the Thousand Islands, please leave a message in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer as best I can. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day.